you come from? Where did you go?
Can you teach me how to dab?
I say right foot creep, ooh, I'm walking with that heater. Look around, stay low, make sure they don't see you.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Hope you enjoyed our little dance moves there for evolution of virtual reality. My name's Chris Wells. Welcome to, this is our third in our response optimization series, and I'm so happy to see everybody in December because normally we go offline in August and we don't see you again until January. So it's kind of like a bonus thing for all of us. But this is pretty exciting. This presentation I've been doing for about a year, and certainly things around the world of metaverse, crypto, NFTs have changed quite a bit in the last 12 months. However, it doesn't change a lot of the concepts as we'll go over. So with that, let's get into it. I'm going to start by talking about the death of print and direct mail. I know you think I'm crazy, right? It's like this is our business, but there's a lot working against us, and you guys are all on here probably because you do some level of marketing using print or direct mail. And if you don't, you should, because it still does have one of the greatest response rates, but there's a lot of things that are making it more and more difficult. First of all is our friends at the United States Postal Service. So as timing would have it, one of our senior customer service mailing experts happened to remind us, our marketing team this morning, that there's another increase coming for the USPS at the end of January. If you're part of our USPS promotion series, though, we can show you how to save money and kind of bring that down a little bit. However, the USPS came up with a 10-year plan about 18 months ago to return to profitability, which I always just get a kick out of. 10 years is a long time to return to profitability. But the two components of their plan are, number one, increase the cost, and number two, also increase the time it takes to deliver things. So their plan for returning to profitability is to charge us more and then reduce the service level. So we'll see how that works out for them. But certainly anybody in this business knows that in the last couple of years, the cost to mail things has continued to go up just from the postage standpoint. The second thing that's working against us is paper. Now, I will tell you, we have a meeting every morning at 8 o'clock to go over what's happening in paper. This is something I haven't done in 20 years in the industry until the last year and a half or so. But things are getting better in paper, right? If you saw the news this morning, they listed out a bunch of manufacturing sectors with slowing demand a little bit, and paper and wood products was one of them. So whether it be lumber or paper itself, the prices has gone sky high over the last 18 months. So we have seen a leveling of that price. We have not yet seen inventories grow. So availability and cost are still a challenge, but it certainly hasn't helped this as a marketing medium. The third thing is tracking. It's always been very difficult to track, for most people, the success of direct mail. It can be considered kind of an ancillary marketing medium that's going along with your social media and your email and maybe trade shows or what have you, regular broadcast media. However, I always equate direct mail to kind of like being on the line in football, right? If the running back has a horrible great game, it's because the line stinks. If the running back has a great game, it's because the line's great. It's never because the line's good. And that's kind of what print and direct mail ends up being. So tracking becomes very, very difficult. But wait, there's more. I'm not done yet. We've been doing webinars all the way through the pandemic and prior to, and as those of you who have been on them know, I do a lot of surveying. And one of the things I like to ask people is how many people are remote working and continuing to do so on a permanent basis, and then how many people have some way of receiving their mail that's coming to their old office at their house. So the last time it was about 26% of people were still in a remote work environment and probably staying there, and only 4% had some process at their company forwarding mail to them. So if you're in the B2B space, in other words, you're selling to other businesses, very, very difficult to reach those businesses utilizing direct mail. I'm not done, there's more. So the other thing is there's been a fundamental change in generations in the workforce. I feel bad, I say this to people all the time, because you have we all talk about millennials and boomers as if Gen X didn't even exist. Hey, we're the latchkey kids. We are here, right? But no, it's my kids say, okay, boomer to me. I'm like, no, your grandmother's a boomer, not me. So, but there's been a significant shift in the generations in the workplace. And we all think of millennials as these, kind of young whippersnappers. The millennials are in their 40s, early 40s now. So this is not like the new generation. The newest generation is Gen Alpha. It's not even Gen Z. So as of 2019, about 44% of the workforce with millennials. 2025, in 2 years from now, 75% will be millennials or Gen Z. And think Gen Alpha is in middle school now, so they're going to start moving into the workforce before we know it. So this isn't something to come, right? We have to understand how these generations have been used to interacting and how they want to interact with us as marketers as we go forward. Oh, there's more. I just kind of quickly went on to Fox Business and Martech and found a couple of articles that were published fairly recently, December 14th, 2022. The other one I think was last week, where 98% of CEOs are preparing for a US recession. And I think most of us are in marketing, and we know one of the first things to get cut during a recession or slow times is marketing. It seems counterintuitive, but it's actually what happens. And all of you know exactly what I'm talking about because you live it. And the second one from Martech was go lean or go home. Marketers face a huge budget cuts and drops in customer loyalty if they don't optimize now. So that's kind of what we're hoping to talk to you about today, is some ways to utilize what the trends are as it relates to the marketing in the metaverse and Web 3.0 and NFTs and all these other things. I'm going to give you a primer course on that so you understand what people are talking about if you don't already, and some easy ways that you can start to bring some of these strategies and techniques into your marketing efforts. So one of the big things that's changed is customers' expectations, whether it's a B2B or a B2C customer. Because in the old days, 5 years ago, we had our products and services, and we had all these little channels that we used to sell them through, whether it be direct mail, email, social media, collateral, trade shows, television, billboards, whatever happens to be. And each one of these channels would market our products and services, and we had these little KPIs, key performance indicators, that we looked at in each one, right? Direct mail, it was maybe response rate. Email, we're looking at open rate, we're looking at click-through. Social media, we're looking at impressions, we're looking at likes, we're looking at follows. All these different little metrics that we use to measure our success. And that's how we sold our products and services to our customers. The challenge is all those were fairly isolated. Yeah, we used the same branding and the same messaging and everything else, but we measured all of the performance in very isolated buckets. Versus what people are expecting now is treat me as an overall customer through my entire life cycle stage. So I don't want, kind of these different channels coming at me. I want the people I do business with to understand what life cycle stage I'm in, and during that particular stage, not only what is the medium I want to be communicated to, but also what are the products and services that you provide that match me in that particular stage. So it's a complete flipping upside down of traditional, not just product marketing and marketing models, but manufacturing and product design and product life cycle models, right? It's no longer that this is our newest product, we sell it to the customers that need it. We need to take our customers and follow them through this journey that they have and understand how they want to be communicated to at each step. And the only way to do that is through a very tight melding of all these different mediums we have, primarily digital, and how do we utilize digital, but not suffer the downside of digital, which is that it gets lost in the shuffle so very often. And that's kind of what the basis of this presentation is, and particularly how Web 3.0 is going to fundamentally change how the people we're marketing to want to engage with us as companies. So let's start it. Web 3.0. So basically, Web 3.0 came after Web 1.0 and Web 2.0. So I'm going to kind of talk you through what the differences are. So Web 1.0 was really the introduction of the internet. This is when, we were reading the Drudge Report, and we had, CompuServe and America Online and all those other things. So content in Web 1.0 was all about web pages. Remember the days people would spend all kinds of money to buy the right URL and everything else? It almost doesn't matter what your URL is anymore, right? Because you're either putting it as a link in an email or a QR code on a postcard, or somebody's just searching for it and clicking on it using Google. So the actual name of the web page, it's somewhat irrelevant today. Then we move to Web 2.0, which is kind of where we are now. We're at the end stages, beginning stages of Web 2 to Web 3. And that's where everything went to streaming, right? It was streaming content from the early days of Vine and Instagram. And when those things came up to, you know, the big, scary TikTok owned by the Chinese government. But I'll tell you, if you're on TikTok, nobody does a better job in serving you streaming content that you're interested in. It's absolutely amazing. And as we move from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, what's happening with content is its decentralization. The acceleration of this, basically from 2.0 to 3.0, happened primarily during the 2020 election, when the data and the content and people's inability to select the content that they want started to really impact people in a negative way. So that's kind of where the big challenges around what was happening with Facebook and people infiltrating and posting sponsored ads and things of that nature. Web 3.0 is all about decentralization of content. It's no longer on a web page. It's no longer on an app streaming. It's decentralized, accessible to me as the user when and how I want it. When you look at marketing as it evolves through these three different phases of Web 1, 2, and 3, 1.0 was all about the search engines. It was search engine optimization. How do I show up as high as I can on Google or Alta Vista or MyWay, remember MyWay, so that people will then click on my website and I'll capture that lead and convert it into new business. Web 2.0, which is, again, where we are now, we're not at Web 3.0, but we're heading there and we're starting to see it, is all about targeted ads, right? It's about retargeting on social media based on, you know, Facebook pixels you're throwing on your website. It's about doing a good job with the data analytics to post sponsored ads to the people that are most likely to click through. It's about analyzing who is clicking through and whether they're converting into customers to then feed back into those algorithms that you're using. Web 3.0, the marketing side of Web 3.0 will be dominated by NFTs. And all of you are going like, oh, has he not been following the news? I'm going to talk about what's happened with NFTs, so don't worry. But keep that in mind. I'm going to define them for you. So don't worry about what it is, just worry about what I said about it. From a communication standpoint, Web 1.0 was all email. That's how we communicated. Web 2.0, it's all about social media, direct messaging, even text messaging, all those other things. But even, I mean, anybody that has kids, you know, they don't learn how to use email until they get into college, when we try to conform them the way we do things, which is not a good idea, but they don't communicate that way. And Web 3.0 is about open interactions. And you'll understand that a little more when I talk about the metaverse, but what open interactions means is I'm not forced to communicate through a LinkedIn message versus a Instagram direct message versus a Facebook message versus a text message versus my email. It's about providing environments where people can openly communicate with each other. The device, clearly, everybody sees what's happened there. So we've gone from desktop to mobile, right? If you look at any stats about where most marketing messages are viewed, it's on mobile. The evolution from 2.0 to 3.0 goes from mobile to virtual reality. Virtual reality being a number of different things that I'm going to talk to you about, not just this MetaQuest 2 over here where you're walking around like an idiot with a thing on your head, right? That's not where we're headed. And then finally, data, which is really the biggest driving force behind most things, but certainly this transformation, is that in Web 1.0, all the data was controlled by the corporations, right? It was controlled by the companies that had the servers that had the most popular pages. Then Web 2.0, where we are now, it's controlled by the networks, primarily the social networks, right? The information that Facebook and Twitter, I mean, look at what's happening with Twitter now, it's kind of crazy. Right, and Facebook buying Instagram and all these other things. The networks that we are all part of are what is controlling the data today, and that people have had enough of. And that's what the impetus of Web 3.0 has been, which is a decentralization of data, and let the users control the data, and let the data not live on the servers at Twitter or the servers at Meta or LinkedIn or whatever. Let the data live in this concept called the blockchain, which I'm going to talk about, but that's really where data is headed. It's headed out of these corporations' controls and these social network controls into this user-controlled environment. And that's kind of exciting and it's kind of scary. So that's what Web 3.0 is, and that's what we're evolving to. Again, we're probably like at the end of 2.0 starting to get into 3.0. So this isn't something you got to do tomorrow, but certainly by February. Just kidding. So the metaverse, Web 3.0, NFTs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What is it all? So I'll tell you what it is. What it is it's a decentralization of data, as I just described it. It's a complete desire, particularly amongst Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and some younger millennials, and some just powerful people in media to decentralize the data and the information and put it into this blockchain so that we have control of it as a community versus as individuals, to prevent all of the kind of crazy stories we saw in the 2020 election and going forward. I mean, there's federal lawsuits right now with TikTok. I don't know if you've been following that, but that's not decentralization of data. They're collecting a lot of really good data. So that's really driving this. It's virtual experiences. It's combining the real world with the virtual world to experience something. It's enriched content. It's give me something I'm used to seeing, print, email, social media posts, and enrich it for me and let it come into my world and let me play with it on my own. That's what enriched content is. It's about exclusivity and digital property. When we talk about NFTs, I'll go through this a little bit more, but the metaverse, Web 3.2, NFTs, things like that, it's about creating content, digital property, and exclusivity in such a way that you can benefit from it as an individual and as an organization. And it's about creating virtual marketplaces where people can exchange goods and services, ideas, communications, jobs, products, anything. What this is not is what you've seen in the last 6 to 8 months around the cryptocurrency world. Bitcoin, Ethereum, FTX, our friend Mr. Brady here, who's in a little bit of hot water now with FTX, which I just heard this morning that the guy, I forget his name, the guy who's going to jail for this, so he was bailed out, and they discovered that they were running FTX, which is a $1 billion basically crypto marketplace using QuickBooks. Think about that, $1 billion company running on QuickBooks. So this is crazy. That's not what this is. So let's not confuse what's happening and what's inevitable in terms of the trends of where marketing is going and where behavior is going to the problems that are happening on the cryptocurrency side of the equation, which is causing a major issue. I always call back to, I'm a kid of I was born in 1970. So, I went through the Atari in the 80s and everything else. And if anybody was around then, you remember the video game crash. I think it was 82 or something like that. And there were just a glut of crappy video games on the market. You could go to Kmart and buy them for $1. And everybody said that is the end of video games. It was the people who called it a fad at the beginning, said, see, I told you so. Video games were a fad and they're never going to work. And this whole industry is blowing up. And it did blow up until the Nintendo NES came out. And you all know what's happening with gaming today. It's huge. There are professional gamers making millions of dollars as a career. Same thing here. You're seeing a lot of people that were questioning the metaverse and sandbox and NFTs and everything else saying, see, I told you so. Don't listen to them. The behavior change has already happened and will continue. So it's a set of expectations and desires on how these future generations and current generations are going to want to interact. And that's what's important for us to understand as marketers. So what is the metaverse? Well, it's a simulated digital environments. I say plural is important. The reason I say plural is important is because there isn't a single metaverse. Anytime you scan a QR code and an augmented reality experience comes up on your phone, you are in the metaverse. It's not a single place. Augmented and virtual reality are what we use to interact with this concept of bringing in the real world and a machine-generated world. All the data, experiences, and content that are in the metaverse are stored on the blockchain. And the best way I can describe the blockchain is like a digital ledger. So this is a public ledger of transactions where there's a line, and every line contains one item, and it can only contain that item. And that's where the data and the experiences and content live, and it's accessible to everybody. That's where the big shift is from on the Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. It's gaming, it's social interaction, it's transactions, it's education. I like to share this picture because I was in a flea market up in Meredith, New Hampshire over the summer, and I found this. I almost bought it. I almost put my head on it, which is even grosser, but it's kind of like the earliest version of MetaQuest I've ever seen. It kind of provides a little 3D image, but anyways. So again, it's not a single place. It's a general concept describing an experience that intermingles the real world with a machine or computer generated world. So there are very common portals into the metaverse right now. Probably the most common is the MetaQuest, which is this person over here. And this is kind of if you have never used a MetaQuest, this is kind of what you see when you're in there, right? It's like your hands show up. When you move, everything moves. You can kind of Mission Impossible like hit the buttons on this virtual screen, go into different worlds. This is a metaverse world called Roblox. Some of your kids might play that. Fortnite is another one. So these are metaverse worlds where transactions are happening, information is being stored in the blockchain, people are interacting with each other, and it is a decentralized environment. And then one of my favorite, if you do win the MetaQuest too, you should download this right away. It's called Wander. So basically, Wander is an app that you get on the MetaQuest. You put it on, and it's like Google Maps, but it's completely 3D, and you're in the world. So you can pick like the center of your town, and it will drop you in the center of your town, 3D. You can look around, you can walk up and down the street, or anywhere else on the entire planet. You can go to the Great Pyramids, and it feels like you're right there. Really amazing. So here are some of the common portals. You have MetaQuest I talked about. Sandbox is kind of where a lot of this NFT trading is happening and where the virtual land is being purchased. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Decentraland is another metaverse environment similar to Sandbox. Roblox and Fortnite are gaming applications, but they are metaverse applications. In other words, it's not Fortnite or Roblox that are owning all this content. The content is stored in the blockchain, and it's the users that continue to create the experience. And actually, Fortnite had a virtual Foo Fighters concert about a year ago before Taylor Hawkins died, unfortunately. But it was pretty well attended. I think it crashed, but it was a good idea. So in terms of the metaverse, what's happened from a financial standpoint is absolutely abysmal. So I shared this at one of our emerging and advanced technologies webinars, where the average price of a parcel of virtual land in Sandbox, you can go to Sandbox and they track average prices of not only virtual land, but NFTs and things like that. So in June of 21, it was $6,000. December of 21, it was $12,000. And I just looked it up 3 days ago, and it was $1,429. So hopefully you didn't buy any land there. I never recommend anybody did. But in the height, if you could buy the parcel next to Snoop Dogg's house, and that was in Sandbox, somebody paid $450,000 for that now. It's probably worth, well, based on this math, $4,500 bucks. But there were $54 billion spent on virtual goods in 2021. With a caveat that most of that money was spent in gaming applications. That is the biggest growth area for this right now. But what we need to understand as marketers is that the behaviors that people are getting accustomed to in terms of interacting in this metaverse are what we need to figure out how to capitalize on to get them interested in our products and services. So this on the left, this is Sandbox. This is what it looks like. It's kind of a big overall map view. You can see people are putting billboards up there, and you can see that the in-metaverse purchases there are growing. You can see that this is it's a multi-billion-dollar industry of what people are doing in the metaverse from a purchasing standpoint. I think most of our businesses, we're not going to be selling products and services in the metaverse. We may think about advertising in the metaverse, possibly. What my point is that the behaviors that people are getting accustomed to in the metaverse are what we need to understand and capitalize on. So let's talk about NFTs. So hang with me. So some of you may know a lot about NFTs. That's great. And I don't claim to be an expert on NFTs, but I do know what they are. I'm hoping I have a way that I can explain them. So it stands for non-fungible token. They couldn't have come up with a worse name for this thing to make it more confusing for everybody. So I kind of went back to my old economics days, and fungibility is actually an economics term, if any of you are economics majors. And if you look at the definition of fungible versus non-fungible, it actually makes it a lot easier to understand what NFTs are. So fungible items in the economic sense are non-unique. They are valued the exact same way everywhere for every single transaction. Something like currency, stocks, precious metals. They can be directly traded for something of the same exact value. $1 here, $1 in California, $1 converted to a euro in Paris, all exactly the same, right? There's nothing unique about my dollar versus your dollar. Same thing with precious metals, right? They're traded on the open market. Unless you're trying to hawk it at a pawn shop, they're going to take a commission. But the value of the precious metal itself is consistent and agreed upon worldwide, right? That's a fungible item. Non-fungible items are things that we usually use fungible items to purchase. They're unique items. The value can change. It can be negotiated based on the situation. Property is probably the best example of a non-fungible item. Collectibles, another non-fungible item. A specific baseball card that I have, that somebody else may have the same card, but the condition's different, or all these other things. They cannot be directly traded for something of the same value. So basically, when you're talking about non-fungible tokens, and tokens just means they had to come up with some word, I think, to explain what a digital asset was. So they said, well, let's call it tokens because only the techies understand it. Anyways, so that's really what a non-fungible token is. It's digital property or a digital collectible. So if you think about it as if it's like a baseball card or a Hummel or Beanie Babies or whatever. So it's a collectible item that has a unique value. It can't be exchanged for something of equal value other than something that's fungible, right? So it's not easily exchanged with something of the same ilk because it's unique. That's what a non-fungible token is. It's a piece of digital data that is unique and doesn't exist anywhere else. So by that, it has some voices of exclusivity towards it. And that's kind of what people got caught up with. I'm going to talk about what happened with NFTs. And I'm going to talk about how it's important from a marketer's perspective. So NFTs will become a primary tool for marketers in the metaverse. The reason for that is because the NFT can become the reward for the call to action in a digital world, and you really can't do it any other way. So it will become a tool for marketers in the metaverse. I don't know if it will be the primary tool, but it will be a primary tool. And in the metaverse, a non-fungible token is a non-interchangeable unit of data. Like I said, it's stored on this blockchain I talked about earlier. It could be an image, it could be a piece of music, it could be a little animation, or it could be an augmented or virtual reality experience. It's a chain of digital data that is unique and cannot be possessed by anybody else other than the one that has it, because it's in that digital ledger. And then nothing else can go in that digital ledger. And until you move it out of there and give it to somebody else, it's yours. They can also be purchased and sold on apps using cryptocurrency. This will and has become secondary. This is the video game crash of what's happening in the metaverse. These are the top 3 NFTs that sold, all using cryptocurrency, by the way, whether it's Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever. This first one sold for $91.8 million. That $91.8 million is probably worth about $100,000 now. The second one sold for $69 million. And then the third one was simply a clock that tracked how long Julian Assange has been in jail. And that sold for $52 million. So people got caught up with NFTs and these things that I'm showing you on the bottom. I want you to forget about all that. Think of NFT as almost like a digital promotional product, okay? Or it's a reward for the people that you're trying to market to respond to your marketing. So here's how companies are using them outside of selling them as a collectible, like the last 3 I showed you. This company, RTFKT, so they were virtual sneaker company. So they started their whole business saying that we will sell NFTs of virtual shoes. And what the NFT was not an image, it was an augmented reality experience. So if you look at the picture on the right, you can see the person has the virtual shoes on their feet. Those aren't real shoes, that's them looking through their phone. And then they said, well, we got to do more than that. So they also got a physical shoe. Nike loved this idea. They actually acquired them last December. And just last week, Nike launched what they call, this is quotes out of an article I just read, the first native Web3 sneaker. So Nike has now taken this over, and you're going to be able to buy a native Web3 sneaker, which means the sneaker exists in all of your metaverse experiences, on your little avatar. It exists in an augmented reality experience, and it'll exist in your real world experience when you put them on your feet. Interestingly enough, last year also Adidas sold $22 million in sneaker NFTs without providing any sneakers. So they just sold the NFTs themselves. Where I really think NFTs become important to marketers is in product exclusivity and brand loyalty, and using that native exclusivity of what an NFT is, because it's like the picture with the holographic seal on it saying that this is one of one. That's where we're really going to be able to take advantage of the behaviors people are used to provide an incentive for them to respond to our offers. And here are some companies that have done it. So Blue Diamond, who makes, the almond breeze and the really yummy almonds that you buy with the chocolate and cinnamon, all that stuff. Anyways, so they had a promotional campaign where if you bought a certain kind of their almond breeze milk, you would scan a QR code and you would receive an NFT. That's the NFT. It was just an image. But also for anybody that did that, they would donate 5% of those sales to the Future Farmers of America. And if you know anything about marketing to millennials and Gen Z, that altruistic experience is really powerful with them. The knowledge that what they're doing is helping the greater good. And this is a good thing, right? This is a good thing for us as a society. But they took advantage of both things that they knew about. One is the exclusivity of owning an NFT would help this, and two, the altruistic sense of giving back to the Future Farmers of America would help this. Coachella. So Coachella, if you don't know, is a big music festival in Coachella, California. My light just went off. So they basically did a lifetime event pass. So if you bought their NFT, and the NFT was you could choose one of their posters, and their posters were well known for their artistic design. You get an NFT of the posters, and then you get a lifetime pass to all their events. Pretty cool. And then Gap also did this with an exclusive hoodie. So when you bought this particular NFT, you get this crazy little guy, and you get that hoodie. And guess what? Nobody else got it except for the people that bought those NFTs. You guys are just going to have to deal with a different light on me, because I am not going to get up and walk around and try to get my light on. See, we care about the environment too. All right, so NFTs and marketing. The NFT is actually what becomes the reward for the response. So if you think of your direct mail campaigns, now your email campaigns, you have a call to action. Sometimes maybe you're giving away a promotional product or something like that. The NFT starts to become the reward that somebody's going to get to respond to you. The NFT could be a video, it could be an augmented reality experience, virtual reality experience, or a digital image, or anything that you could store on the blockchain. I'd highly recommend downloading one of these apps that allows you to create, maybe even buy an NFT, so you can kind of see what it's all about. You can buy an NFT for $1.50 out there today, a real silly one, but at least understand it and start to experience it. Again, it's a digital promotional product. These are the promotional products of the metaverse, are NFTs. Okay, that's a good way to sum it up. Okay, so how does that relate to print and the things that we're doing on the print side? Well, print, interestingly enough, I'm convinced, is the window into the metaverse. Why? It's very difficult, as you know, to get people to interact with a digital communication into some other medium. It's a lot easier to get people to start at another medium and then get them into a digital interaction, like scanning a QR code on print, or scanning a QR code on a billboard, or something like that. Clicking on something on your phone or on your desktop is just not fun. It's not interactive, and that's why it doesn't work very, very well. Print is easier than anything else to scan. The other thing is it can be rescanned multiple times and shared with others. How many times have you gotten a cool thing where you scan it and this experience shows up and you're like, that's awesome, and then you want to share it with other people? Very few people will do that with, oh, this is so cool, I'm going to send you that email. Like, that's just, okay, it'll go in with the 600 other ones that I haven't read yet. So those are two very important components. The other thing is you can incorporate unique designs with print to make it more engaging. You can engage more senses with print, scent, touch, all these other different things, sound, right? All these things that can be used in print. How do I know we're on the right path? This group of handsome folks right here is our internship program this summer. We had to hire 10 kids. They were either college freshmen up to college seniors, and we asked them to evaluate what our ideas were around the metaverse, and this is what they came up with on why they thought print was the best thing to use to get people to launch into the metaverse and anything other than gaming applications. So that's a panel of experts right there. You can't get better than that. So what is print's window into the metaverse? Well, interestingly enough, a lot of this stuff we've already been doing for a while, and some of you have already been doing it. It's just understanding how it's going to interact and transitioning that into a bigger part of your marketing efforts. So one of them is extended reality. So this is the interaction of a machine-generated experience with a human experience. Sound familiar? That's the definition of what the metaverse interactions are. And virtual reality and augmented reality are two things that have been around for a while that work very well, that are windows into the metaverse. That allows you to initiate digital transactions. So here's some things that you can do that are pretty, some are easier than others, but one is called portal augmented reality. So portal augmented reality is a very specific type of augmented reality where the user basically scans a QR code on a printed piece, and on their phone, they have the ability to place a virtual door somewhere in the room that they're in. Then they can walk through that virtual door, and then they are interacting into a virtual world. It's a way to get into the metaverse in a physical way, so you're engaging that physical feeling of walking through that door without having to put on a MetaQuest or something like that. Think of that for conferences you're trying to promote, real estate, I mean, for tours and things like that, trade shows, resorts and travel, entertainment venues. It's a very simplified application. You drop the door, you physically walk through the door holding your phone, and it brings you into a completely new world. And as you turn with the phone, the world is new and the door disappears. You're stuck there forever. But you can really give people the experience of what it's like to be in some spot that you're trying to promote from your marketing efforts. The second one that we're seeing more and more growth on is called character augmented reality. And part of this is through kind of the whole influencer side of the world, which again could be a whole other webinar. But being able to interact with influencers and being able to create a life that you may not have. This is popular on social media if you spend any time on there. So in this particular example, the user scans a QR code on the piece, and this virtual character appears in the room that they're in. They can then say to their friend, hold the phone, walk over and interact with the character, record a video, get a screenshot, share it on social, initiate a purchase, launch it to a website. You could use this with sports, branding, loyalty programs. Basically, it just looks at where the geo plates are on the room that you're in. It may ask you to spin your phone around a little bit. This humongous guy showed up in my office. And it'll also detect different planes. So you see in this one, it saw my desk, it jumped up right on the desk, and then the person showed up there. So this is metaverse. This is virtual reality, augmented reality. That thing obviously doesn't really exist in my office, but somebody could have walked up next to him, and that gives a whole different experience. The biggest one that we see a lot of is mixed reality. So mixed reality basically is combining the real world with some machine generated world from an interaction standpoint, a response standpoint, specific calls to action for marketing. So the user scans a QR code, the virtual experience shows up through their phone, they can interact with that experience. This is great if you're trying to explain complex concepts, where if you do it in print, you'd have too many words, nobody's gonna read it anyways, or it becomes more expensive because you're adding pages to things. Providing enriched experiences, reducing copy, any direct educational pieces, if you're trying to educate someone on a concept, there's all kinds of ways to do it. This is one for, it's a medical, basically medical classes to help people get ready for the medical entrance exams. So there's different webinars you can sign up for. It basically put this medical desk in the room that they were in. This is one that actually we did, which is to scan a QR code, and it brings you up into all different types of information where you could get a better experience of what this particular new press that we bought did. You have a spec sheet. There was a webinar we did on it with some experts. There was a oh, my video's spinning. That's not gonna be good. And then there was the actual press in action. Some of our customers are touchy-feely. They want to see this thing running. So that's where you could do that. This was, if you guys are, everybody's probably on our email list. You probably got our postcard or an e-version of the postcard. This whole campaign was developed by our interns, and their idea was to put people into a snow globe. So when you scan the QR code, it puts you right into a snow globe. All these cool characters show up. This is in our office parking lot outside. And we even gave people the ability to adjust the amount of snow. So if you tap the plus sign, it snowed more. Again, this is a metaverse experience. So this is WPI. So these guys are engineers. They're smart. They've been doing this for about 5 years. So This is a augmented reality metaverse application or admissions piece where they're trying to get kids to apply to the school. So when you scanned the piece, these virtual buttons would float on top of it. It allowed you to watch a video, to understand more about the school, to explore it, look at the majors and minors. And they got really smart and said, well, what if we make an augmented reality piece where when you scan this goat, which is their mascot, it can bring up these little filters, and then we put a picture button right on there so you can immediately grab a screenshot of it saying, hey, I got into WPI and they sent me this cool paper goat that I could build on my own and share that on social media. This is another one. This is a virtual business card. So you scan the business card, and this gentleman who owns a company called Reality Blue, which is a great AR company, they basically, when you scan his business card, you get an interactive business card. He talks to you, you can see what he looks like, you can click an email, you can watch a video, you can call him directly out of that. So those are all augmented reality experiences. They exist today, and it allows you to take advantage of how people are going to want to interact with your marketing materials in the future. There's another huge benefit to all of this that I'm going to go over in a minute. So the future of virtual and augmented reality in the metaverse looks more like this, where not only am I just seeing things that are placed in the world and I can manipulate them with my phone, but I can put my phone into a Google Cardboard or something like that. I don't need the MetaQuest, and I can actually interact with things using pieces of my actual body. So this is a company called Mixed Reality Toolkit. They make a bunch of products for basically mixed mode reality, which is what this is called. I'm sure it's super expensive. I haven't looked into it. But those are the types of things that we're going to see in the future in terms of how people are going to respond to your direct marketing campaigns on how they're going to interact with your product or service. So how does it work in the real world? Well, think about things like if you're in a business that does instruction manuals. One of the areas I'm not going to go over in detail because we do in some of our other webinars, but digital voice assistants, using Amazon Echo or Google Home or Siri to be able to interact with the user to provide additional information. So replacing an instruction manual that's currently maybe printed by a digital voice assistant command. AR videos, so that you scan the product that you're looking at, and then there's actual links to content that other people have already created. Most of us, when we get something, we don't know how to work it, we don't know how it gets fixed. And I can tell you, everybody in Gen Z, they go to YouTube. So all this content already exists. Use it, don't create it. And then just use augmented reality to say, what part of what I've sold you here don't you understand? Click on it through your phone and bring it right to the video. And also straight augmented reality. So being able to, like this picture I have over here, point your phone at the car's dashboard and AR kicks in, just like it did in those previous videos we showed you. And when you click on the different areas, it brings you directly to the instructions for that particular piece. Catalogs. So I don't know about you, but my catalog mailbox is bigger than it's ever been. So I don't know, it seems to go the opposite direction, but still, how about replacing half of those pages in that catalog with augmented reality videos of the products in action? How about a mixed reality for product placement if you're looking to buy a particular clothing item or a dresser or a chair or something like that, where in mixed reality, again, we're putting the digital world into the real world and you can see how it looks. How about a way to reduce the number of pages you're printing in the catalog to make it more expansive and more engaging? Educational, virtual reality. If you're in the educational side, like WPI is, the tours, admissions, everybody already has the content. It's just a matter of launching it out of a print device. For donors, if you're a donor to a college or university, how about a virtual reality follow-up piece where I scan the piece and I'm seeing, what my money's gone to, the new dorm being built or whatever. And then again, digital voice assistants using Alexa and using Google Home to provide an exclusive content to the end user by getting them to, by registering commands and building applications for these digital voice assistants. If you're in the financial services industry, that's a very complex concept. You're doing an enrollment campaign. You're trying to get people to sign up for a 401k or change to a managed services plan. These are complex processes that you can't communicate very well in a direct mail piece or an email piece or commercial on TV. So why not send the piece to create the interest and then use augmented reality to basically scan a QR code and bring into client testimonials or additional questions, or click the area that you're more interested in and drive down into additional content, but don't try to provide it in a single email or a single website or a single print piece, because nobody's going to pay attention to that. Let me, remember from the very beginning, let me choose how I want to learn about your product and service. And that's what metaverse marketing is all about. Live events using augmented reality venues for videos for promotion of the venue. AR videos with exclusive content. If you sign up now, our keynote is going to give a special presentation only available to you guys. And guess what? Let's take that keynote presentation as a chain of digital data, put it in the blockchain, and make it a flippin' NFT. And now you got the concept. There's all kinds of ways you can get people to engage in these. You can use QR codes. Everything's web now. There are very few people are using applications to do augmented reality, and don't do it. Just use web. It can do everything else. It just launches into a browser, nothing special required. You could use near field communication as a chip or paper. I'm going to show you a video on that in a minute. You can do it with emails. You could do it on the desktop where it launches to your camera on your computer. This is an NFC chip. This is like Apple Pay. So the phone just has to get close to it and it will launch the experience. You don't need to scan the QR code. We put one on there in case people felt more comfortable with that. But as the phone gets close, it launches the augmented reality experience. Promotional products last even longer than print does. Why not put a QR code on a promotional product and have it turn into an augmented reality experience? Maybe it's a little stress ball, and when you use the QR code, you get a basketball game that you can play with the stress ball on your phone. These are ways that print interacts as a window into the metaverse as it relates to Web 3.0, which is where we're headed. Okay, a couple little bonus things. A big part of why we're promoting this is to use print for what it does well, but then as quickly as possible, turn it into a digital interaction, because digital does a better job at nurturing and bringing customers through that life cycle. The response and data is instant. The ability to modify the follow-up data and send it to that particular person is instant. It's better, but print is better for acquisition. So we're kind of cannibalistic. We're saying print less, engage more. So all of these things that are coming up now are covered in our other webinars, but things like informed delivery. This is a free service the post office offers. If you're going to send a direct mail piece, change the informed delivery part of the campaign where people are getting this email every morning from the post office and it's showing them what's coming in the mail. Add an offer to it. Nobody else will unless it's the promotional period. And every time somebody clicks on that, you know who clicked it before they even get the direct mail piece. It's a complete no-brainer. And by the way, if you do it from August to December, you get a 4% postage discount. It's a way to take that concept of omni-channel and make it reality without any additional cost to you, right? You're taking a direct mail piece, you're turning it into a digital interaction without having to do anything additional. Social matching. So a lot of you guys probably are using social media for retargeting and things like that. What we found is if you can use social matching prior to a direct mail campaign, which is basically taking your data list and running it up against certain data. Melissa Data has this, a bunch of companies have this. They can usually return up to an 80% match of the records in your database, in your mailing list, to either their Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Twitter handles. So that means that you can then post to those people prior to them receiving the direct mail campaign. We call it softening the beach, right? So if you can provide that content up front in the social media posts weeks before you do the direct mail campaign, I guarantee you'll get a better response on the direct mail campaign. And here's another one. I call it reverse retargeting. So most people think of retargeting as that scary thing when I'm talking to someone about a product or service, and then when I go to my Facebook account, an ad for it shows up. It freaks us all out. It doesn't really listen to you. You probably looked something up on Wikipedia regarding that particular item, and that had a cookie on it, and the cookie is fed back to Facebook, and Facebook's wonderful advertisers and algorithms at Meta decide that, okay, you're interested in this case in Cutco knives, so the next time I go to my Gmail or to my Facebook account, I have an ad for Cutco knives. That's called retargeting. A lot of you guys are doing it. If you're not, now you understand how this stuff is happening to you. What I'm saying is why not use reverse retargeting? Well, what does that mean? Well, let's take when they go to that website, and we're tracking the data that they're looking at and the pages they're looking at through pixels and cookies, which all of our websites have, and your IT department can show you how to get that information. And let's capture that and find out what they looked at, and then let's create a micro personalized direct mail response piece with an offer. Hey, we know you looked at these 3 products. Here's 4 more that you might like, and here's a 20% discount coupon. And do it on an automated data flow. The response you would get from that is going to be far greater than somebody on social media seeing an ad for a website they just visited, thinking that somebody's listening to them as they're talking to their friend about a product or service. So it's called reverse retargeting. And finally, the USPS realized this. It's one of their promotional campaigns this year is direct mail retargeting, which is more to come on that. Digital voice assistants. Again, it creates a digital interaction with a print piece. Because what we can do, this is just showing you the kind of the growth of digital voice assistants, pretty much everybody has them, is that we can get people to interact with our direct mail without them even opening it. You know, hey Google, talk to DSGUW. Hey Google, talk to Mobile Shop 90s. Alexa, ask GBH about the spring campaign. I don't have to open the piece, and I can build custom apps on these digital voice assistants that as soon as I do, I now have a digital fingerprint of what happened, and I can then go and retarget those people or get them into my workflow for softening the beach and creating a customer, turning them into a customer or a better customer. It's just another great way. And then the easiest thing that you can do on direct mail is just use a personalized QR code. If you're in a digital print environment already, and everybody's going to go to the same QR code for your offer, just personalize every one of them. So everybody has a different QR code. They don't know it's different. They all look the same. I don't read QR, so I don't know that those are all a little bit different. Nobody reads QR. And it just hits a microsite for an instant, and then it goes to the site you wanted them to go to anyways. But the benefit is we know specifically who scanned the QR codes, because that QR code that was scanned was only on that one piece that went to Sally Q sample. Again, very easy ways to convert print into a digital interaction, which then you can use for even more of these Web 3.0 type of marketing strategies. All right, so I encourage you to download the PDF because it will have some of these resources on here that are great. But here's what our vision is, and we hope your vision is in 2023. Less is more. Email less, but get increased engagement. Print less, but extend the user's experience. Post less on social media, but post in ways that create interactions with people. Educate yourself on how this is going to work, because people are becoming more and more tired of the mass marketing messages, and we absolutely have to fundamentally change how we're going to market. So here's a couple of cool sites for you to look at. Again, download the PDF and you'll get them, and become a consumer. If you don't win this today, go out and buy a MetaQuest. Oh, I got my light back on. Go out and buy a MetaQuest. Go into the sandbox and see what's going on, walk around a little bit, create a little username, something like that. As I said, go out and buy an NFT or look at NFTs. Just get yourself educated so you can become a consumer of this, so you understand what people are talking about, and you'll understand better how your business could utilize some of these techniques. Anybody that does not want to stay on for the question and answer section, thank you very much for your attendance. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you all in January. We'll kick off our USPS promotional series, and have a wonderful holiday. And I'm going to get to the questions now for those who do want to hang around. Okay, question number 1: does DSGUW help their clients set up informed delivery? We absolutely do, and that's a service that you can talk to your account executive about. We do not charge for it. We get great results for it. We even give you a pre-campaign analysis. We'll show you who on your list qualifies, or what percentage of the people do. Are you working with companies today that are using the metaverse? Yes, for some of the things that we're talking about now, they're probably not calling it the metaverse, but in terms of actually creating NFTs and things like that, no, we don't have any companies doing that. So you can be the first. Somebody missed the drawing. Wah, okay, sorry. Can you help your clients set up informed delivery? Yep, great webinar, thanks again. All right, that's all the questions. All right, so if anybody else has any other questions, just email me, cwells@dsgraphics.com. You got the emails from me to sign up for this most likely, and I'm happy to have a chat with you. Don't forget to download the handout. I'll leave the webinar open for a few minutes afterwards, and have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.